Hey everybody. On my last video, consider the lobster. It turned out to be more of like a summary. So this time on this new essay that I'm reading, I'm really gonna try for it to be a reflection. And so the essay at hand is shipping out on the nearly lethal comforts of a luxury cruise by David Foster Wallace. Also, this essay was published in Harper's Magazine in 1996. There are 13 chapters in this essay, and the first one is called Four Color Brochure, Part 1. And so here, for the first page or so, he repeats, I have seen, for pretty much every single sentence, and he just gives us a bunch of descriptors of the scene. It feels as if it's like more of like he's writing this after he's getting off the cruise. He's kind of like reminiscing of the whole situation. Some of my favorite of these initial descriptors are like I have smelled suntan lotion spread over 2,100 pounds of hot flesh. I have in 1 week been the object of over 1,500 professional smiles. And I have met cruise staff with the monikers Mojo Mike, Cocopuff, and Dave the Bingo Boy. So yeah, so in these initial descriptors, like he sets the scene for us. These observations are genuine, so like it's actually him. He really means this. Then in page 10 of the essay, there's another section which is a Four Color Brochure Part 2, and here the descriptions of the cruise are a bit less genuine. This part of the paper is about an essay by a renowned author called Frank Conroy. Basically, celebrity cruises, they gave him, a free trip on a cruise for him and his family, and they paid him to write an essay about his experience. Now, they didn't really give him any, like, actual directions about, like, this has to be positive, but I feel like once they're put in that position, most people's, like internal, like, reciprocity will just kind of affect their, what they produce. And so here's a quick little quote from this essay, which is, with that single easy step, we entered a new world, a sort of alternate reality to the one on the shore. Smiles, handshakes, we were whisked away to our cabin by friendly young women from guest relations. And so this essay was written in 1994, but the essay by David Foster Wallace was in 1996. And Wallace actually called Mr. Convoy, and he asked him, how do you feel about the essay? And he actually responded by saying, and his reflection was that he prostituted himself. So 2 years later, he's thinking like, okay, they gave me money, and I let the buyer use me, And so this relates to the type of like controlled perception that the cruise is like kind of trying to install. It's like, we're gonna have fun, here you go. So what does the cruise industry sell? And at least my reflections from this essay is it sells kind of like a break from reality, where it's all just relaxation and pleasure. I feel this is the type of like of a hollow happiness that is like its antithesis would be like fulfillment, where you're just, you're having fun, just like that's the activity at hand. Fun isn't a byproduct of an activity, it's like the literal activity that you're doing. A cool little quote that I saw on page 4 is, when the curtain comes down after a standing ovation, the talk among your companions turn to, what next? Perhaps a visit to the casino, or a little dancing in the disco, maybe a quiet drink in the piano bar, or a starlit stroll around the deck. After discussing all your options, everyone agrees, like, let's do it all. So here, I see this as the fun, like not being, again, it's not a byproduct of the activity. It's the actual activity yourself, where you're in a type of like fantasy land. And when you're talking about a cruise, I feel like it's easy to be mean. I don't want this to sound too like pretentious. A reflection of like the, like a suburban reality that a lot of people, including myself, like live in. And there's these weird, like, types of desires that if you're surrounded by them for long enough, You just perceive them as normal. It's just, you know, the way things are. And an effect of this is like the desire to do nothing. And a cruise ship is a reaction to, you know, this desire that people will pay money to, you know, relax and just like just do nothing, you know, a desire to be pampered. But at a point, this pampering just becomes absurd. And there's like a couple examples in the text. Because so on this cruise, there's a lot of people that, you know, that have like high paying jobs, whose job it is for you to have a good time. But this sometimes becomes absurd. So one example is on the first day when David Foster Wallace is in his room, and his luggage is with everybody else's luggage, and I think like an entry port of the ship. And so he goes down, he finds his bag, and he gets it out of the pile. And as soon as he does, there's just a service member that, you know, immediately runs up to him and just asks him like, hey, can I take your bag for you? You know, please don't carry it yourself. And then David Foster Wallace, he's like, no, actually, I want to carry it. And so then it's like there's these two like rules of the service industry where it's like, one, like pamper the customer, you know, but two, the customer's always right. But like, you know, you have these two rules that are going against each other. What are you to do if you're the service member? But David Foster Wallace, you know, since, you know, the customer's always right, David Foster Wallace was allowed to carry his own bag to his room. And then I guess, you know, the service members, like a manager, I guess, knew. And then the manager's manager knew. The manager of that manager knew. And at the end, he gets like the co-captain of the ship at his door, like apologizing for you know, being able to carry your own bag. And then it's just like that whole situation is just completely absurd. And there's a couple other ones in here. That was my favorite example. Another concept that he touches on in page 11 is the professional smile. And I'm a fan of this concept. I haven't really ever read it like being like proposed like this. And I worked as a waiter for 3 years, so I definitely, you know this. I mastered this. I did this for money. And yeah, in the service industry, you're just interacting with guests all day long. You're supposed to make them feel welcomed, and, you know, just, you know, the professional smile. But he equates this to being like being dishonest in a way. Again, the way that he writes the claims aren't as brutal as how I'm saying this. It's like somebody is smiling at you because they want a specific reaction out of you. The smile isn't genuine. It's to make you feel comfortable, which, I mean, well, maybe smiling to make someone comfortable is genuine, but it's more of like a purchased interaction. Yeah, a smile becomes a part of a purchased interaction, and that's how he equates the professional smile to dishonesty and insidious. Later in the essay, like I think it's like around page 15 or so, they're at a city in Mexico. Another ship comes by, and he describes the ship, you know, it's, you know, very similar to his, you know, there's little patios in the rooms, it looks very nice. And then this is a week-long cruise, and him seeing this other ship, he's like 5 days deep in the cruise. Then these like thoughts start coming up, like, oh, maybe their ship looks better than our ship. Maybe, you know, maybe their like, you know, fancy meals are a bit fancier than ours. Maybe their casino is a bit less depressing. Maybe their pools are bigger. And so then he talks about like a weird, like infantile part of him, where it's like its very nature, its very essence is insatiable. It just wants. And so a quote here real quick is, in response to any environment of extraordinary gratification and pampering, the insatiable infant part of me will simply adjust its desire upward until it goes once again, levels out in homeostasis of terrible dissatisfaction. And sure enough, after a few days of delight and then adjustment on the nadir, a pampered, swaddled part of me that wants is now back and with a vengeance. So after this, he notices just bad things, like small bad things. Like for example, the AC vent, it hisses loudly. The busboy for their table has a crumb scooper, and he doesn't get all the crumbs. When Petra, which is the service lady to clean his room, comes, his bed, the corners of the bed are not at the same angle. The vegetables are slightly overcooked. The ice sculpture looks hurriedly carved. The tap water isn't cold enough. And so then, after being on this cruise of just relaxation and fun, the part of him that wants things just grew bigger and bigger. It just it's not fulfilled. It's not. And so what I see from this is that infantile part of us that he says it's in him, but I feel it's just part of human nature. Everybody has that little wanting feeling inside that if you feed it, it's just gonna get bigger. And yeah, feeding it is not the way to go, man. Anyways, that's all I gotta say about this one. The link to this essay will be in the description, as well as the couple quotes that I used. And yeah, have a nice one.